You're listening to the Fantasy Fling Podcast. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us as we give you the newest and hottest DFS deals, preview the DFS main slate, and take the dreadful walk of shame. Here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
Welcome to the Week 14 DFS main slate preview on the Fantasy Fling DFS podcast. I'm here with Eric. As always, my co-host. How you doing, Eric?
Yeah, man. Doing pretty good. Overall, I didn't do too well this week, but I'm still doing good, or last week.
Yeah.
Not after you pour it was 470 points in cash and still lose.
It was a tough one. I did cash. I did pretty well last week. Good week. Could have been a big week. We'll get into that. But, thank you for joining us. We talked the Week 14 main slate on DraftKings. Playoffs start this week for some leagues. Are you out of it in season long? That's okay. Play DFS. It's better anyways. In my opinion, it's the best format of any fantasy football, fantasy sports format. But yeah, we'll do that quick recap of Week 13. And then, of course, we will recap the hot plays on the main slate, and we'll do that walk of shame before we jump into Week 14. So, started out with the quarterbacks of Week 13, the top ones on the slate, on the DFS main slate. We had Brady versus Atlanta. It was, as we talked about last week, as we gave it to you in our preview, it was a great bounce back, get right game for Brady. The week before, Fournette got all the tutties, not this time. So Brady, 32 points. Second, Kyler Murray. He was back. I had some Kyler Murray lineups. I mean, it just seemed right? You play him in tournaments, of course. You're not playing him in cash coming off an injury. You never know what's going to happen. But, yeah, you throw out some tournament lineups with him, and if you did, it paid off last week. And then Herbert, had a lot of Herbert. So he actually, pretty much all my cash lineups last week, lineups that cash, not just cash, because I only play one lineup in cash, but any lineup that hit the cash line pretty much had Herbert in it. Third with 29 points. Cousins, 24 points. Going against Detroit, that's not really a surprise. What was surprising was that they lost that game. And then Stafford, fifth. We talked about it too last week. It was a get-right game for them versus Jacksonville because he had looked bad. They had looked bad for a while. And then, so that's going to do it for quarterbacks.
It was crazy about Kyler Murray. He only threw 15. He only had 15 attempts.
Yeah, extremely efficient.
Yeah. Ain't crazy, man.
Yeah. So JT had some JT, not a ton of him because he was, a lot more owned this week going against Houston, and rightfully so. He was my cash game running back. He was my pay-up option. Now between him and Kupp, I went with him. I had to make that decision. But so JT, and then second, Montgomery, 28 points. Just behind him, 28.1. Josh Jacobs made his way in here finally, 24 points versus Washington. Fournette didn't have a bad day. He didn't have a 47-point day, but, enough for top 5, 22 points. And then Gibson had some of him last week, was very good. What we had last week without Gordon was Javonte Williams' breakout game. He would have been first on this list if it wasn't the Sunday night game, but it's pretty easy to see why in Dynasty most people are saying it's Jonathan Taylor 1, Javonte Williams 2, top 3, whatever you want to call it. And he's certainly the guy in Dynasty.
Looks good, man. Yeah. He looks real good.
No doubt. Well, Eric, let you take away with the wide receivers.
Yeah, man. A guy that I've been saying for a while I think might be the best receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson, against Detroit. I mean, I can't believe they lost to Detroit, but hey, good on him. He had 38.6 points, followed by Deontay Johnson, 33.5 points against the Ravens. And then up there with Brady, you have Godwin had 33.2 points, so that was a good stack. I stacked that, but we'll talk about my shameful moment of what I did in the anyway. But I had that stack, buddy, which was nice. T. Higgins, he's been playing really, really well. He's been kind of, he's had a lot of passes that like a lot of end zone targets, a lot of shots to the end zone, like a lot of like stopping on the 1 yard line. 31.8 points against the Chargers, and then Cooper Kupp 29.9 points against Jacksonville. It's crazy because he didn't do like anything the first half. It was like, is this?
Yeah.
And then they were like, how do we beat this team? Oh, let's give it to our best player. And they
right.
That was almost all in the second half.
I was tilting a little bit with my Stafford stacks. I'm like, God damn it, what's going on, Cooper?
The couple of honorable mention guys, Russell Gage had 26, and St. Brown, not equal to St. Brown, but his brother. St. Brown at 24.8.
I did have him in some of my Cousins Jefferson stacks, so some good tournament lineups with him as a bring back.
Let's start with the tight ends. Holy wow, George Kittle, 42.6 points.
This is an explosion. And you know what? It's funny, before you go on to the next two, if I had just swapped the guys that I had in second and third place and paid up at defense, I would have won $100,000 last week in the play action. So I'll without further ado,
you can get at times. Man.
Without further ado,
you play. Man. So Dallas Goddard is the one you said you should have played. Mm-hmm. He had 31.5 points against the Jets. Mm-hmm. And Gronk, which is no bad feat either, had 21.8 points against Atlanta. So that's a difference of about 12 points or 10 points there.
For sure.
TJ Hawkinson 14.9, and then Logan Thomas, unfortunately, he's out for the rest of the season, but he had 13.8 against the Raiders. Mm-hmm. If you want to round it out with the defenses, looks like the Chargers are looking good.
Yes, sir. So had I, I'll get into the hot plays, but that would have been the defense target, or just even a couple of these other different options. They're just low ownership, but Chargers, 20 points for Cincy, and then the Colts following right behind them versus Houston. Surprise, surprise, 18 points, and then Arizona and the Bucs, they tied with 11 points, and then we had a lot of ties this week with points. There were points to be had, for sure, if you pick the right defense special team. So AZ Bucks at 11, Rams Steelers at 10, coming in at 4, and then Miami and Seattle 9. So that is the top 5 at every position on the main slate of Week 13. As far as my hot plays, I kind of alluded to it. I had a good week. I cashed and cash. This is now 11 out of 13 weeks that I have done so. And, it was kind of, as far as the cash line and just playing the chalk over at DFS Army. Again, 11 out of 13 weeks just by using the chalkboard at DFS Army. Literally every Sunday, I will log in. I'll go to the chalkboard. I'll piece together my lineup, and boom, cash 11 out of 13 weeks. You can do this too. Use code FANTASYFLING for 10% off a VIP subscription, dfsarmy.com. My main hot play, though, so I did well in tournaments this past week. I tweeted about this, but for me, it's like so hard to just like enjoy the small wins, right? So the play action, this is my highest score of the year. I scored 213 points in the play action tournament with my lineup. I finished 470th out of 400, almost 450,000. So it's a big feat in itself. But I still had a hard time enjoying it because I'm looking at my lineup and I'm like, okay, I did Gronk and Kittle. So I did 2 tight ends in the flex, and really it's smashed, right? Because I got 60-something points between the two of them. I'm like, but if I played Goddard, I would have saved $800, and I know in large field GPPs that you pay up for defenses. So if I had just played Goddard instead of Gronk and then paid up as opposed to the Bears to, any of these other options that I'm seeing here, let's go to defenses, just looking at ownership. Like if I played the Chargers, for example, I could have afforded them 20 points. I win the play action. I win $100,000 instead of $40. So
that's rough, man. Yeah.
It's good to look back and be like, okay, I should have done this, but we got to appreciate the small wins too. You need to get better at that. So I had a Cousins Jefferson stack. It was all about just getting leverage off of the chalky running backs. Madison, I knew was going to be chalk, and I'm like, give me some Justin Jefferson and some Kirk Cousins. So 24 points from Kirk. Jefferson, I got 38 points from him. My running backs were Gibson and Sony Michel. So I got 22 points from Gibson and then 24 from Sony Michel. And I was actually surprised. So in this tournament specifically, Michel was kind of where I thought he would be. He was even higher, though, because the report that I saw was that Henderson was active and he was going to play. And I had already built a ton of Michel lineups like in my tournaments, and I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna roll with Michel. I'll take a total loss on the day, because if he plays and he gets all the carries and he smashes, like I'm gonna have great leverage on the field. I didn't expect everyone to be playing him. I saw him as high as like 33% owned, and depending on the contests, which was just crazy to me. But he smashed 24 points out. Renfro 22 points. Pittman was the worst, skill position I had was 17 points. Yeah, and I had Gronk with 21 points, and then Kittle, it's 6% ownership. He was ultimate leverage on the field. I mean, he's 42 points. He crushed it. And then what really held me back was the Bears D. And it's funny, right? Like you post a lineup like this, you score over 210 points. You finish the top 99th percentile in a massive large field GPP, and someone's like, what the Bears D? At like 2,700. The reason why I played them was because with Murray, you didn't know what you were going to get. Is he still going to be hobbled? Is he going to be rusty? Can he throw a couple interceptions? Maybe one of them's a pick six. Like the defensive position is highly volatile, so you just never. There's so many possible different range of outcomes, and they were low owned. So, and hindsight's 2020. I would have liked to have chosen another option, but is what it is. So, overall, it was a great day.
Nice.
How about you?
Nice.
Hot plays?
Yeah, I didn't do as well. I scored 169 in one of my cash lineups and 156 in the other. And neither one of them cashed. So it's kind of a bad day when
those are the hardest.
Don't cash.
Those are the hardest weeks in DFS because the cash line, like if you hit 150, you're gonna hit it almost like 9 times out of 10. But when you score well above that and you don't cash, like it's so frustrating.
Yeah, man. I'd say the hot plays. I played Michel. I played Gardner Minshew, who for his price was great. I played Gibson and Taylor, Cup, Renfro. I think where I failed the biggest part where I failed of anything was not playing Godwin. I didn't play him in either one, and I should have because he killed it, especially in the full PPR, 3 points for a 100-yard bonus. That's probably where I think I made the mistake. But yeah, overall, I mean, 170 points, I can't complain. I lost, but I've won most weeks, so I'm all right with it. But yeah, some of my hot plays, I played Jonathan Taylor, either Jonathan Taylor or Cup in every single one of those. My cash lineups and Renfro as well. He's like a perfect cash lineup every week. He gets those short little targets. He's pretty reliable. I mean, if he ends up falling in the end zone, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
But then
sure.
Michel was a great play. I put him everywhere too. I didn't think he'd score 25 points, but I was happy with the outcome.
Yeah, I thought he would smash. I thought he was in a great smash spot. From like the reports that I was seeing, like I was just shocked that he was so highly played. Like I was like, because there was no clarity on like he's getting the start. Henderson's active, but he's not going to play. Or at least from the reports that I saw. So I was pretty shocked, but he was a great play regardless. So, well,
it was indeed.
That's going to do it for the hot plays. Do you have a walk of shame? I really don't, but obviously, I mean, you didn't cash, so maybe that's a walk of shame. But I will say, if I did have a walk of shame, it's as you know, as I've talked about, I bartend on Sunday mornings, so I wake up early and I do all my lineups, and then I go to work, and then so when I saw that Minshew was going to start, for some reason, like I just kind of galaxy brained it, and I was like, if there's anyone, who can I stack him with besides like Miles Sanders or what's his face? Devonta Smith. I just totally spaced Goddard for some reason. And it cost me maybe $100,000. I don't know. But that if there was a walk of shame, like I had zero exposure to Goddard anywhere. And I still had a great day, but Goddard he had slate breaking type of day. So.
Man, that was a good, it was a great game for him. I didn't expect him to do that either. I mean, you never know when you get a new quarterback in there, just, who they're going to favor.
Minshew's got that Fitz magic. He's like, he's going to come in and he's going to play hot for a little bit. And then, people are going to talk about Uncle Rico, and Napoleon Dynamite. They're going to make all those comparisons. And then he's going to come back to life, come crashing down after a little bit. So. You got to ride it while it's hot. Yeah.
Yep. My walk of shame. I mean, apart from losing with scoring pretty well in cash, the GPP. We have a tournament that all three of us are in. You, Paul, and I.
Mm-hmm.
And when I filled my lineup, it was like 110%. It was 109, just under 110%. And I didn't check it on Sunday. Had a busy morning, whatever, no excuse.
Yeah.
And I ended up playing. It ended up being like 170%. So it was basically a cash lineup that I put in the GPP. So that's kind of my walk of shame. It was like, whoops, that definitely did not mean to do that. So my bad. I'll have to double check on Sundays.
Yeah, I saw that. I gave you a little bit of flack about that because I was like, all right, there's something wrong here. It's because Eric continues to score, hit the cash line in the Millie Maker. And I'm like, well, that's good. It probably means that your lineup is a little more chalkier than you want it to be.
Yeah.
Then I started looking at the numbers. And I was like, oh yeah, this is way too high.
Yep, that was my mistake. I think that's the first time I've done that. But that's a lesson right there. You got to, obviously we're doing this on Fridays, and so you need to run it on again on Sundays and make the necessary changes.
For sure. Well, let's get into the Week 14 main slate. I apologize. We're doing this on a Friday this week. Normally we do this on a Wednesday, but I had some stuff come up and just wasn't in the right headspace to do it on Wednesday. So here we are, but without further ado, Eric, you want to give us the games to target?
Yeah, man. Well, according to Vegas, they think Tampa Bay and Buffalo will be the highest scoring game. The spread is 53.5 points. I don't know why I wrote 53.3. Mm-hmm. Oops. Typo there. Tampa's favored by 3.5. So they're projected for a 28-point team total. I'm going to take the under on that game. I'll tell you what, man, I'm not real high on that one. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I don't know why, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to hit 53. It should go off, but second in line is you have San Francisco and Cincinnati with a 48.5 point spread. Cincinnati's favored by 1.5, giving them a 24-point team total. Next on line is, I'm surprised this one's kind of low, but lower than I expected, is the Raiders and Kansas City. The spread is 48 points, and Kansas City's a 9.5-point favorite. 48 seems low to me. I'm trying to think of the last time they paid. I guess Kansas City put up all the points. Maybe that's why. Kansas City has a 28.5-point team, 28-point projected team total. And then you have Dallas and the Washington football team also with 48-point spread. Dallas is a 4.5-point favorite with this 26-point team total projected. And then one actually we changed from Wednesday to today is Jacksonville and Tennessee. They jumped up to a 43.5-point spread with Tennessee being favored, and they're projected for 26-point team total for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Kind of low scores. I'm kind of surprised on the Raiders Chiefs one. I feel like that one's going to go over.
Yeah.
There were a couple things that happened in that game that, it kind of was downhill from the Raiders, and they'll probably lose again. But I think Mahomes is going to go off again because they're too stubborn of a football team to play cover two.
I could see that.
But,
yeah.
For sure, was like Mahomes' get right game last time. It was in Las Vegas. Sorry, it was in Las Vegas, and that was this one's in Arrowhead, so it's going to be even harder to play. Maybe another get right game for Mahomes.
No doubt about it, man. Well, let's get into the quarterbacks on this slate. So there's several options now. There's a lot that's changing with there's a lot of COVID news coming down right now. And in all honesty, I'm glad we didn't do this on a Wednesday because just forget everything we said on Wednesday because there's been so much COVID news and injury news coming out today that there's still not enough clarity to really give you like a cash lineup as we say this on a Friday night. So
sorry.
Bailey's going a little crazy right now, but it's all good. So as far as the quarterbacks, what I'm seeing right now, the top 3 guys, Herbert, Mahomes, and Taysom Hill. Now, this is on the chalkboard. This is from ownership projection. So, again, this is how I kind of piece together my lineup. So, there's not a big difference between Herbert, Mahomes, and Hill based on ownership. So, there's kind of a safety blanket there. Yeah, but there is a big difference in price and their projections. There's even less of a difference between their ownership projections and actual like fantasy points projections. So Taysom Hill is probably going to be my cash quarterback this week. And then I'm going to be heavy on Kamara in tournaments, just kind of, playing both sides of that. So Justin Herbert, 7,100, Patrick Mahomes, 8,000, Taysom Hill is 5,600. Also, there's Josh Allen. I like a lot of him in tournaments, but I feel like Taysom Hill would be a really good cash play this week with a decent floor and only 5,600, and then that allows for a lot of different pay-ups across the board. So that's kind of where I'm going in cash as of right now.
Yeah, I think Taysom has, be at 5,600. He probably has a minimum of a 6-point floor on the ground. I imagine he'll get at least 60 yards. I think last game he played, he ran for over 100. So I feel like they have designed runs just for him. So it seems like a 60-yard floor just for the run. The running would probably be, at the minimum. It seems like with the way he plays. Just gotta keep your fingers crossed he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, I'm right there with the quarterbacks as well. I had Taysom. I also put Cam in there too. He's got a really good matchup against a horrible defense against the Falcons, and he's only 5,400. Cam might be a pretty cheap cash play as well. I know he disappointed last time, but he's playing a much easier defense this time around.
For sure, man. Yeah, Cam would be the other option for sure. I like him even cheaper than Taysom, and now you don't have Christian McCaffrey, so I'm actually not worried about the tutties being vultured from Cam or like vice versa if you were playing Christian McCaffrey. So Cam might actually be a safer, for sure, play than Taysom, because with Taysom, you're like, well, are the touchdowns going to go to Kamara? Are they going to go to Taysom? Cam Newton, he doesn't have a dynamic back anymore with Christian McCaffrey out. So yeah, man.
Definitely, man.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, as far as running backs, there's a lot, and it continues to change by the moment. So Eckler seems like a lock for me right now in cash,
100%.
As a pay up option. Like, so they got no Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen. Dude, he might get like 15, 20 targets. Like, it's just his like dump offs. And on looking at the chalkboard right now, it's 23% projected ownership. So, and with there being more value that seems to be opening up on the slate, especially if you play a Taysom or a Cam, I could certainly see playing Eckler, just locking in Eckler this week in cash.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good play. I mean, he seems with everyone out. It looks like that's the way to go. I mean, plus they don't have a team that's probably going to threaten them to put up a whole bunch of points on the board either.
Yeah.
So, they got Mike Glennon coming back to play week 2. It's like, it doesn't really scare me.
Definitely. A couple other options I like in cash. So Kamara, you brought up Cam, kind of skipped my mind for a little bit. If I play Cam, I definitely like more Kamara in cash, because if there's enough value to play Eckler and Kamara and you could play Cam, I like that, because then you're not worried about Taysom or Kamara, stealing tutties from one another and, kind of limiting that upside with that lineup. So I like that. With Eli Mitchell being out, Jeff Wilson, really like him. And then Javonte Williams, specifically if there's no Melvin Gordon. I feel like you could even play him still with Melvin Gordon. He's coming in really high projected ownership right now, 17%, and it's going against the Lions, who are just horrible against the run. So, and then my last option would obviously be Gibson. So I like Gibson in stacks in that Dallas WFT game. But even just Gibson is as a one-off like that a lot too. So.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I mean, which a lot of times with cash, if you're playing chalk, it sounds like our lineup we should have a lot of overlapping players.
Yeah, you're playing
right
optimals more or less.
Yeah, I'm right there with Alex Smith as well, or not Alex Smith, Jeff Smith. But also, there's another guy that because of all the news with COVID, Michael Carter's out. Now Tevin Coleman is out. Ty Johnson's only 4,400. He's the only one in the backfield. I don't even know who else they have on their roster to play, honestly. He's a pretty good cash play as well. I think he's the only healthy back they have. And you mentioned Javonte Williams. After what they saw with him, I don't know how they couldn't. I mean, it's not like Gordon did anything wrong, but how could you not give him more touches after what he did? And same thing, also Antonio Gibson, I had him on my list as well. All those guys are pretty highly owned. I think at least 17% plus on all of them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Ty Johnson, he does play for the Jets, which does suck. But Tevin Coleman's out, Michael Carter's out. He's the next man up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Help you put some of the expensive receivers in if you play Ty Johnson as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, you're like, DFS is like putting together a lineup. You're kind of playing like Tetris. You're like, well, I can fit a value back in here, so then I can fit a bigger piece in here.
I was trying to say Jeff Wilson, by the way. I don't know why I was thinking
Jeff
of Alex
Smith.
Smith.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens.
I said Jeff Smith. It was Jeff Wilson is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So my apologies.
Yeah. I know what you meant. Well, cool, man. So wide receivers, I'll let you go. You want to start it with that?
Yeah, man. I think a guy that's always on my list, unless his price just goes insane, but Hunter Renfro. Mm-hmm. 6,100. The guy always seems to perform. Like he just always.
No Waller this week.
Yeah, he's not gonna. He's not gonna break the game. He's not gonna put up 40 points, but he's got a pretty good floor about every week, and that's kind of what you want. I have Tyreek as well. I think Tyreek can be used in cash or GPP because I think he's going to be played in both. Last time he played the Raiders, he killed them, and I don't think the Raiders have anybody in the secondary who could hang them. So I did put Tyreek in there, but like I said, I think he's interchangeable. I think you play him in cash, or tournaments. I think he will be played in both a lot, stacked with Mahomes. And then a guy I have is, if he's healthy, I have Deebo Samuel. He's expensive, but man, they use him as a running back just to get the ball in his hands. He's 8,000, but that he's had like two targets of the last two games because they're just putting him to run the ball. So if Deebo's healthy, which it looks like he's going to play, he's crushed it every single week he's played as well. I like him a lot.
For sure, especially with Eli Mitchell out. Yeah, he's going to be getting some carries in the backfield.
IR. Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I like those. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill for sure if you're doing the pay option. Now, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, those guys are both out. So, going over to the Dom station at DFS Army, Josh Palmer is coming in as the top fantasy points per dollar player. 4X. That's what I'm seeing right now from him. 4X. He's $3,000. That's his projection. So, slides right in there. Right now, his ownership is low, but I promise you by Sunday he's going to be chalk. People, because here's the thing: a lot of people use these optimizers, and not everyone knows what they're doing with them. But when they go in and you just hit optimize, right, and it pops up, he's going to be in all the lineups, so he's going to end up being chalk. Just trust me on this. So I like him. I'm with you. I like Tyreek Hill for sure. Hunter Renfro without Waller, he's definitely a play for me. And then of course there's kind of the usual suspects, right? You got that Brady and Josh Allen, Tampa Bay, Buffalo game. So Chris Godwin, he's certainly a cash play. Without Antonio Brown, with it just being Evans, Gronk, and Godwin, it's very condensed. So those guys are definitely in play. Evans more in tournaments, just based on projections, ownership projections. I believe Godwin is going to be more owned than Evans. So yeah, give me all the Evans in tournaments. And that's pretty much it for my wide receiver pool as of now. Of course, this could change by Sunday, but that's mainly what I'm looking at. Debo, and you mentioned Debo, so yeah, heavily in on Debo too if he plays.
Yeah, man.
If not, give me Ayuk.
Yeah, you'd figure that at least Jimmy G would make more of an attempt to throw to his wide receivers.
Yeah,
at some point. Yeah, man. I think Evans, like you said, is probably more of a GPP play because he's probably going to be shadowed. It seems like every time they play, Tre'Davious White is on him. And that's
and then I would say I would also give CeeDee Lamb as cash consideration. Obviously tournaments, but in cash this week too. So his, kind of in that Godwin range as far as pricing goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tight end time.
Yeah, that's the shit show. It's usually, there's a couple guys who usually do pretty well, but I'm going back. He didn't have a great week last week, but they did play the Rams. It's one of the toughest secondaries there is. But James O'Shaughnessy is still 2.9 thousand. He's super cheap. He doesn't take much. He needs 7.5 points to hit his cash. He doesn't need much. One fall in the end zone or something like that. And with the recent news of everything, all the Chargers receivers going out, I'm kind of gotten higher on the tight ends for the Chargers as well. So Jared Cook seems to be in play. He's only 3.2 thousand. Apart from Josh Palmer, I don't even know what their other receivers are. There's is it Jalen Guyton, I think? But I think the tight ends will get a big bump. Yeah. But Eckler will, the tight ends will. I usually only write down about 2 tight ends. I have a couple of those I pay up for GPP, but for cash, I think that's where I'd go. If you feel, you want to roll with Foster Moreau again, he's at 4,000 this time around, but he's had one good game, one bad game, so we have a 2-game sample size. Yeah. So that might be a little bit of risk. Might be more of a GPP play. I don't know if he has a ceiling though, but anyway, those are the 2 I'm liking this week: are O'Shaughnessy and Jared Cook.
I'm with you on those. I like both of those options for sure. Jared Cook, O'Shaughnessy, as your pay down. Gronk, obviously, I will have in stacks with Brady. Not seeing a lot of ownership on him right now. We'll see where that goes. From a fantasy points per dollar perspective, Cook and O'Shaughnessy are the top guys, as well as Gronk. And then CJ Uzomah, he's also in there too, 3,000. What projects to be one of the more high-scoring games on the slate versus San Fran. Like him. And then Foster Moreau with no Waller. He would be my player pool for tight ends for sure as well.
Yep.
We're flying through this, which is good because we got 2 shows to do back-to-back. So after we're done with this, we'll be right back with Making a Millie, your DraftKings Millie Maker special for Week 14. But defenses, what do you got for me, Eric?
Ooh, man, I wrote down I like the Panthers this week a lot. They're only 2,800. They're playing Atlanta. And as you know, at any given time, Matt Ryan can just fall apart. 2,800 for them is a pretty awesome deal. If you want to pay down, Russell Wilson's looked horrible lately. If you want to bank on that, the Texans are only 2,400 as well. Those are kind of what I'm looking at as well. If you want to do on the other end of that ball, Seattle, a little more expensive though, 3,100. But either one in that game because they're both pretty bad. I think they're going back to Davis Mills as well. I think Tyrod had something with his wrist. I'm not sure if he's playing or not, but if he's not, I think Seattle's definitely in play.
No doubt, man. So with defenses, there's 2 ways I'm going to go about it, right? I'm going to look at fantasy points per dollar and then just kind of look at projections. So we pay up in GPPs, in cash, and smaller tournaments. You're really just looking to find value. You want your pay down options in good matchups. So, Seahawks versus Houston, 3,100. That does... It's not surprising, right? It's the Texans. You're going to target them. So that's 11% ownership. I don't know. It does kind of feel like a little bit of bad chalk to me. I would like it better if they were lower owned for like tournaments, but sure. 3,100 in cash. I just don't really do it. So I don't know. There's the Browns versus the Ravens. These divisional matchups, they can get a little weird. It's 2,700. It's not a bad play.
It's surprising how high of points per dollar they have the Browns. I really am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised against Lamar. I mean, that's surprising to me.
Yeah, and the thing is one thing I've noticed specifically about playing tournaments is you have to limit your exposure to these defenses. Like, don't just go all in on one defense. Like, that is a way to have a horrible day. That's a way to have good lineups just crushed by a defense that scores 0 points or, like, -3 points. You kind of want to get a variety. So limit your exposures to some of these defenses within certain ranges. The Giants actually might not be a horrible play against the Chargers with who knows at wide receiver. Like, it could end up being decent. Not horrible. And then, that's probably it. For tournaments, I could definitely see paying up for the Saints versus Jets. I like Carolina versus Atlanta at 2,800. So, those are some decent options that I'm certainly looking at.
They're 4,300. Yeah. Ouch. Woo, yeah. It's pricey.
Yeah, it's too much for me. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's up there, man.
Yeah. It's too rich for my blood. We've never seen it in the Millie Maker this year. So, not about it. And we definitely don't advise it in cash. So, well,
yeah, man.
I think that's going to do it for the cash game preview for Week 14 of the DFS main slate. We're about to end this broadcast, and then we're going to have Pavel, Polish Paul, hop in with us as we do our Millie Maker special, Making a Millie. So, appreciate you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and then add us if you have any questions. And good luck, everyone. We'll see you on Making a Millie.
See you next Wednesday. Or next on Making a Millie, actually.
My bad. We'll see you in 10 minutes. But, we'll see you next Wednesday for the Fantasy Fling DFS podcast.
All right. Out.
Later.